Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this City of Gallatin Candidate Forum, and welcome to the campus of Volunteer State Community College. My name is Jerry Faulkner. I'm the president here at the college, and we want to welcome you virtually to this candidate forum. Always a little sad over the last several months that we can't be together in person, but we are still very thankful for the technology that allows us to be able to meet together in this fashion by Facebook Live and by way of YouTube. So as a community college, we at Vol State take very seriously our role as partners in the community and supporters of what happens in the 11 counties across our service area. After all, our middle name is community. And so we're always very glad when we can partner with local organizations to provide opportunities that benefit the community. This year, we're launching the celebration of our 50th anniversary of the college. After granting over 30,000 degrees and certificates to citizens of Northern and Middle Tennessee, we've made much difference in the lives of people across this region, and we're happy to have been able to do that. We're glad to be able, again, as I said, to host this candidate forum. Going all the way back to Thomas Jefferson, there has been those that have put forward the idea of the importance of an informed and educated electorate. And so Volunteer State Community College has the task of educating, and opportunities such as the forum this evening are opportunities for you to be informed. We have a very few folks here in the auditorium, just the candidates and the folks that are helping with the staffing of the event. But we appreciate everyone that is here in the auditorium following the safety rules, keep everyone safe, wearing a mask, social distancing, and no handshaking. For me, that's the toughest one. It's almost reflexive to reach out and shake someone's hand. We appreciate the sponsorship of this event by the Gallatin Area Chamber of Commerce under the leadership of CEO Kim Baker and Board Chairman Taylor Walker, and also the sponsorship by Main Street Media, publisher of several local newspapers, including here in Sumner County, the Gallatin News, the Hendersonville Standard, and the Portland Sun. Main Street Media is owned by Dave and Ellen Gould, and we appreciate them so much. The Gallatin Area Chamber has asked me to share the following information. All candidates in the upcoming City of Gallatin election were invited to attend this evening's candidate forum. Various dates were offered in an effort to accommodate schedules of all involved. Until around 7 a.m. this morning, all candidates were confirmed to attend. At that time, the Gallatin Chamber was notified that at-large candidate Pascal Jouvence was no longer willing to participate as he did not agree with the format of this evening's forum. The Gallatin Area Chamber of Commerce does not endorse candidates. Just as the Chamber supports business, they support all candidates in their decision to run for office and to serve our beautiful city. The Chamber knows that there is significant time commitment, courage, and dedication involved in running for a public office. The Chamber commends all who choose to do so and stands behind them in their efforts. And I would say a big ditto from Vol State Community College as well. At this time, I'd like to introduce the moderators for this evening's forum. We are glad to have with us Josh Cross, reporter for the Gallatin News, which is one of the Main Street Media newspapers, and Devin O'Day, media host and developer for Main Street Media. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Faulkner. I'm just so excited to be here tonight because local elections and in this forum these are the policies that will affect us more than any other thing probably that happens in the next election. So having a working knowledge of that, we are so grateful to Vol State Community College for letting us be here. And I will say, as I announce our candidates who will be answering questions, that since we are taking all the precautions with sterilizing the microphones and keeping you separated, if you would like to pull your mask down to answer your questions so people who are perhaps hearing impaired will be able to see what you're saying, you are allowed to do that. Josh, how are you this evening?
Doing great, thank you.
Josh has got some great questions lined up, and he's going to be, but before we do that, before we start asking any questions, I want to introduce two of the uncontested candidates on the ballot. We have Lynda Love and Eileen George. How are you guys tonight?
Great, thank you.
Well, we also have timekeepers in our front row. Raise your hands, timekeepers, so we'll be able to keep an eye out. They will be keeping time when we ask questions. They will hold up a yellow card when we're halfway through, and of course red when time limit has been reached. And if you don't follow that, there is a sound guy in the back that knows how to press mute. But I don't think we're gonna have any problem. We all saw the presidential debates, and we don't want a repeat of that, right? No, we don't want a repeat of that. Each of you, Lynda and Eileen, will have 2 minutes for intros, and you can tell us a little bit about yourself. So we'll start now, and let's begin with Eileen, and we'll start the time for 2 minutes now.
Thank you. Hi, thank you so much for allowing us to be here. And this is my very first time running for any political office. I've never really intended to even look in this direction, but I had been given the opportunity to look at it because a few people at the chamber luncheon I attended had asked me where I lived and if I would be interested in running as a candidate for District 2 Council because Steve Camp was going to be retiring from it. I did not expect to do anything with that other than to say, well, thank you, but no thank you. However, I did start thinking about it and I realized I am so involved in Gallatin and everything about Gallatin that this would maybe be the next place for me to go. I have lived in Gallatin for most of my life. I'm not a native, but I moved here and fell in love with it. I loved building a business in Gallatin, Tennessee for a number of years. And then in 1986, I decided to get into real estate. And I have been in real estate since then and have been an active realtor, a managing broker of a company and principal broker and brand ambassador and now back as managing broker and selling real estate again in Gallatin. I absolutely love the city. The growth that it has is done with a lot of vision that is contained and it is looked at with a great eye. We are so fortunate to have companies coming here. Facebook is being one. It's only going to do nothing but attract more companies like them, and it's going to be high-paying jobs. Wonderful businesses will continue to grow and bring people that are going to be building and moving into really fine homes. I'm excited very much to be part of this council. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Lynda.
Thank you all for being with us tonight, and thank you, Chamber, for sponsoring this event. It's great for everyone to be able to meet our candidates that have already been serving on City Council as well as newcomers to the city. I, in introducing myself, am a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a daughter, a former Gallatin High School teacher, and a Christian. The past 4 years, I've had the honor of serving on Gallatin City Council representing District 1, which has been a wonderful experience, and I am lucky enough to be unopposed this year. Why did I get into City Council 4 years ago? I am a born and raised Gallatin girl. I love this place. I love my hometown. I love all of the traditions and all of the memories that make up our community, and I love the people. I just feel like knowing the people as well as I do and being from here that I would be able to represent them well, and I hope that I've been able to do so. I also would like to give a shout out to our city employees because they are wonderful, and we have so many great workers in the city of Gallatin making it special and making it the wonderful place that it is, where so many people are interested in moving because it is such a great, wonderful place. My hope is that our city council can continue working together as well as we have for the past 4 years and continue keeping Gallatin the nicest place in America. Thank you.
All right, Lynda Bradley Love is running unopposed for her reelection bid in District 1. And in District 2, Eileen George is running for replacement of current Vice Mayor and District 2 Councilman Steve Camp, who announced earlier this year he would not seek re-election. And a great thank you to both of you ladies. You come very highly qualified and you're running unopposed, and we're grateful for your time. Sure. Josh?
We would like to ask you one question. If you could just maybe tell the audience a little bit about your district, which part of the city you will represent. Obviously, District 1 is not the same as District 2. And then if there's anything specifically about your district that you would like to see done while you're on the city council. We'll start with Lynda since we started with Eileen first last time.
My district is, as I said, District 1. That district encompasses the downtown area all the way out past the hospital and past Grandview on Scottsville Pike. I live in the historic district, which is one thing that makes that district special, besides the fact that we have the football stadium. So we have a lot of people there on Friday nights. One thing that I'm happy that has been done in my district since I've been there is that the city has purchased an area of land on East Main Street, and hopefully we'll be able to get a grant and make that a nice park soon. Thank you.
Ms. George.
Sure. I live in District 2, and it encompasses the Hancock to Maple, going out to Steam Plant Road. I don't know a whole lot about what our needs are yet because I have not served, but I have been canvassing the area and noticing that we may have a few potholes that need to be repaired. And I live in Foxfire subdivision, and we have a couple of streets that have been paved and some not paved yet. So kind of questionable about that, but I'll find that out when I get in there. Sure.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, ladies. We so appreciate your time tonight. And the most important thing is to remember early voting is going to be taking place at Freedom Church. You can visit the polls on November 3rd as well. And the most important thing to remember about tonight, you're part of this. And we're going to give a little time to sterilize the mics to get ready for our candidates who are running for the other seats. Josh, tonight, I do know, and I will say that you are a very, very strong investigative reporter, so I know that you've got some questions and some things that are going to really make it very clear about for people how to make a decision in this upcoming election.
Definitely. We've spent a lot of time coming up with questions that if you read the newspaper will not be a surprise to you. But there are some pretty key issues with Gallatin moving forward, and we plan to pick the candidates' brains tonight and see how they feel about everything.
Mm-hmm. You know, one of the things that I found with the local policies are the ones that affect us day to day more than anything else. And it's sometimes considered the gateway into politics on the local level. But for the people who are running tonight, most of them, this is the seat that they want. That's where they want to be. They want to affect the place where they live. They're not using this to springboard into another place to move into politics. They're not considered necessarily career politicians. They really want to affect change and improvement. And, you know, Gallatin really right now is on fire. It really is, in a good way. Don't you think?
It's definitely been that would probably be the key issue of this race is Gallatin's growth and where the city feels like it's going to be at in the future.
Because we've watched some of our cities that are nearby, Nashville, that grew so fast, and there's some infrastructure issues that weren't necessarily taken into consideration. And that's why tonight is so important, and why your vote coming up in early voting or on November 3rd is so important. And we are so grateful that you are here tonight. And if you're watching right now on Facebook, we encourage you to share this broadcast, this live broadcast, on your pages. Share them wherever you are and wherever you're watching. Now we'd like to invite our other candidates up. All right. We have Shawn Fennell, at-large incumbent, and our at-large challenger is Robert Lee. They will both take their places. They will be socially distanced. And again, gentlemen, if you want to remove your mask to answer, that's perfectly fine, because we've taken great pains to make sure that you're separated, you know, so you can't kick each other under the table or anything. All right, now we'll begin. Josh, if you'd like to start asking some questions.
Well, first, we would want to welcome each of you to the City of Gallatin Candidate Forum, and thank you for taking the time to be with us here tonight. Thank you for taking the time for caring enough for the voters who want to know more about where you stand on issues facing Gallatin. We also want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring this event and Volunteer State Community College for hosting us. We also ask that you remain respectful of everyone here and those watching online by not interrupting anyone while they are speaking. Questions for tonight have been divided into two sections and have not been shared with any candidate in advance. The first half of these questions will focus on getting to know each of the candidates better, while the second half will focus on specific issues facing the City of Gallatin. So with that out of the way, let's begin.
Before you do that, I wanted to make everyone aware the candidates did not bring any of their answers. They have not heard these questions. They don't have any answers. They do have blank pieces of paper and a pen so that they can take notes, so that they won't forget something like, you know, if it's been asked. But other than that, this is totally off the cuff, a typical political forum.
So as you are aware, the City of Gallatin is made up of 7 members, 5 who represent their own specific district and 2 at-large representatives for the entire city. You are running to fill one of those at-large seats. So the first question is, if elected or re-elected, do you feel your position on the City Council is any different from the other members who represent their own unique districts? And how would you balance representing residents from across the city? We'll start with Mr. Fennell.
Thank you, Ms. Devin O'Day, Josh. I want to thank Kim Baker also out there, and most likely Vol State Community College and Jerry Faulkner. You know, I really don't see, to me, a difference. I see the city as a whole city. I don't feel that I have the luxury of just looking out for one particular distance. The city as a whole, it is one city. I see that there are some good things in the city out there. I see there's some things that we need to work on, we need to do. Growth, that is a challenging issue right there, and I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit more this evening. Traffic is an issue right there, and we're going to try to work on some traffic, and I'm sure that will be an issue right there tonight. You know, COVID is a thing in the city that we are dealing with right now, and that's another issue right now. Thank you.
And Mr. Lee.
Yes, sir. Serving as Alderman at large, it would be a great honor because you're representing the entire population of the city. Certain districts will have issues that are more important to that particular district than the same issue in another district. If I may, it's been 20 years since anyone in Gallatin, I was involved in politics at all, and I would like to introduce myself again, if possible.
Sure.
My name is Robert Lee. I am a candidate for Alderman at large. My signs, if you notice them in town, says Trump supporter, back the blue, and that's exactly what I am. I'm a back the blue Trump supporter, and I believe in law and order. And I have seen through this COVID virus and through the protests and things that have been going on in this country, I want to be that candidate that is that backs and supports our police department.
All right.
Sure. I'd like to introduce myself for the people that don't know. I'm Shawn Fennell. I've got a wife named Vicki Fennell, 2 kids that live here in Gallatin that are both married, and I've got 4 wonderful grandkids. I own a place called 4-Way Motors, 4-Way Muffler. I've been a business owner in Gallatin for over 35 years.
Perfect. when you answer, we just ask that you make sure you speak into the mic. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Just how well, I'm sure they'll let us know. The second question, making the best informed decision is key not only for elected officials, but also in each of our everyday lives. If elected or re-elected, how would you determine how to vote on a specific issue? And what is the litmus test for what you would or would not support in determining that? Mr. Lee, we'll go first with you.
First of all, on Tuesday, we each were our deadline to turn in our third quarter financial papers. I did that with pride in that I took no contributions from any individual or any special interest group. I have funded my campaign on my own. I am proud of that fact in that when I take office, I'm not going to owe anyone any favors for anything. Again, what was your questions?
How would you determine how to vote on an issue? What would be the litmus?
Myself personally, I would go to people that have served in the past. I know several people that have served on the city council, and if the key to the question is do I know the answer to every question that's asked? And that is no. But I do know where to go and find the answers, and I do know who to seek advice from in order to get the right answer.
Mr. Fennell?
First of all, I would listen to the citizens and the issue itself. I would study up on that issue right there. If I had to go to the site of where the issue's at, for instance, if it was a water line or a piece of property or something like that, I usually try to go out there and see it firsthand. There's some development issues. I sit on the Gallatin Planning Commission also. So most of the time when a development comes in front of us, I always try to go out to that development and look, listen to the citizens, see what the citizens want. That's the number one key right there. And then try to research that. And there are certain avenues that we can go to. We can call for help for MTAS, CTAS. There's people out there that's traveled the same path also. But the main thing is we're voted and elected by the citizens of the city. And we really got to weigh that out and make sure that's what the citizens want and make sure it's a good thing that the citizens need.
Perfect. If you are chosen to serve on the city council for the next 4 years, what would your main priorities be for the city? We'll start with Mr. Fennell this time.
At this time, one of my main things is COVID, traffic, and the future of the city. COVID, we've had a lot of businesses affected by COVID, as we all know, and to make sure that we get them back on track and to make sure that they're back profitable again. I am proud to say that our tax numbers that's come in have been above what they was last year at the same month, but there are businesses out there that are hurting. Also, the nonprofit organizations out there, they have taken a hit. For example, my wife serves on the Sumner County Historical, the museum, and there was a function that they was going to have in the spring at Foxville to try to generate money. Well, they had to cancel because of COVID. Another thing is the citizens. We want to make sure the citizens are going to be doing okay, in good shape, and bring a prosperous future back to them. And hopefully we can all find a cure for COVID. That would be nice. Thank you.
Mr. Lee?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure.
Yeah.
If you are chosen to serve on the Gallatin City Council for the next 4 years, what would your main priorities be for the city?
My main priorities are going to be the citizens and the taxpayers of the city. That's number one. For most of us, our homes are our most prided possessions that we've paid house notes for 30 years, and when we finally get them paid for, that's our home. When it comes to paying the taxes to keep that home and to continue to live in that home, that is most important of all things, is that we can allow our citizens to stay in those homes without the burden of not being able to pay their taxes.
Perfect.
Josh, can I cut in and say
Sure.
something? And in all fairness to Mr. Lee, I'm sure there's more time that Mr. Lee would like to have to answer some questions, and I would love to have a little bit more time to answer some questions. I'm not opposed if this format would be willing to let us have more time and let Mr. Lee have more time, because it seems like I got out half of what I wanted to say, and there's more that I would like to say. Is that permissible, or would
Sure.
y'all rather?
I think we can do a minute and a half. Would that be okay?
That's fair with
Is
me.
that okay with
Okay.
y'all?
Now, if you would like to, 30 more seconds.
And then I would like a rebuttal.
Sure. Well, I'll let you go first, Mr. Fennell, since you want to go, and then Mr. Lee, if you want 30 more seconds after that, we can do that.
Well, first say COVID, but another issue is traffic. We have spent money into the city to synchronize our lights in Gallatin, and we have seen that has been a proven success in other cities and other towns throughout the country. Another thing is the future of Gallatin, developing it in the right way.
Mr. Lee, if there's anything else you would like to add?
I agree with Mr. Fennell that in the kind of growth that we're having, it's important. Not all growth is good growth. It has an impact. And when these housing developments are going up right and left with large apartment complexes, large housing communities being built, it comes with a cost, and that is an impact. And I do not believe, like some of the special interests in this county, that the taxpayer is the ultimate in paying that burden.
And we'll get into plenty more of these traffic and growth here real soon. We do have one question tonight that is just for each one of you. It's a similar question. But Mr. Lee, we'll start with you first on this one. Your campaign is focused heavily on supporting local law enforcement. Do you feel the city supports its police officers enough currently? And how would you back the blue if elected?
Well, sir, I started my career in Gallatin on that police department. We've always had backing for that police department. J.D. Malone years ago, Robert Langford, Tommy Garrett. We've always had support for that police department. It's not always been to the level we would have liked, but for most part, the people in Gallatin love and appreciate our police department. And overall, they do a very good job. I just want to continue to see them have the tools and the resources necessary to do that job so that we don't have incidents like are going on across this country. I want those police officers to have the training that's necessary to make good decisions before they have to make them. And when the time comes, hopefully they've made the right decision. Maybe they have, and maybe they're getting grief. I'm going to be there to back them up, even if they've made a mistake, and even if we have to step in and do things that communities have not done and call in special help.
And Mr. Fennell, your campaign slogan states that you are, quote, focused on our future. What is that future that you see for Gallatin if you are reelected?
The future of Gallatin. Yeah. Well, we partnered with Greater National Regional Council 4 years ago, and we've been developing a long-range plan, a comprehensive land use plan for the city of Gallatin. And I'm really proud of that. We've worked on that for 4 years, and the community has been invited to participate in that, and we've seen overwhelming response of the community participating in that. Now, that's also looking at some of the cities that have really fast growth, and what we're doing is the problems that they had years ago with their growth. We're learning from the problems other cities had and trying to find the best way to grow the city of Gallatin, give the citizens what they want. And it's really neat to look at some of the stuff that's coming out now and see what the citizens want in the surveys out there. And the main thing is try to develop the way that we've been asked to do and the citizens want.
Before we go forward, if we can change from now on your answers, make them 2 minutes. And if you would like a rebuttal to one of those, just raise your hand and the rebuttal will be 30 seconds. Okay?
Thank you.
Is that all right? Does that work for you?
Works perfect for me.
Okay, good.
Now, moving on to more specific issues facing Gallatin. Earlier this year, the city hired an independent consultant to conduct a statistically valid survey of residents to see how they felt about a variety of services the city provides. The results found that while 82% of residents said they were satisfied with the overall quality of life.
Excuse me, Josh.
Sure,
To me, you're muffled.
sure, I'll take this off. See if this helps any better.
Yes, sir.
I'll repeat the question. Earlier this year, the city hired an independent consultant to conduct a statistically valid survey of residents to see how they felt about a variety of services the city provides. The results found that while 82% of residents said they were satisfied with the overall quality of life in Gallatin, only 29% felt the city was managing growth well. What specifically do you think Gallatin should do to better manage the continued growth the city is experiencing? Mr. Fennell, I'll have you go first.
Repeat
The question,
yes, sir.
what specifically do you think Gallatin should do to better manage the continued growth the city is experiencing?
What should Gallatin do to experience growth that we're?
To manage it better, since 29% of
Well,
residents.
I'm sure there's a lot of things that we can do better. One thing is apartments, and I have brought out probably 2 years ago that I didn't really want to see any more apartments out there, and I made it public in some of the meetings and so on some of the meetings. I think that the apartments need to saturate into our area right here and fill up and then see where we stand. Some of the apartments out there, we get a blame for them. We really have no blame in that because some of these things have been approved 10, 15, 20 years ago. And people have land rights, there's property rights out there. We just had the other day an apartment complex that was brought to our attention over in the Bledsoe Springs area, and that was approved 11 years ago. And, you know, I don't really want to see that now. I don't think Gallatin is ready for that now. I would like to see that slow down some. But what we can do is land that does not have zoning right there, zoned agriculture, then we don't have to upzone that. And we haven't done that as a city council. So therefore, there has been a lot of proposals in front of us that we've actually turned down. And we turned down for numerous reasons, density or townhomes. We turned down one the other day in Gallatin, and Miss Love was in on that with me. We just thought it was too dense of a development. I want to make sure when we develop right. I'm proud of our planning department. I think we take the time to really look at what we're planning, the product we're giving, the landscape and the sidewalks, the setbacks, the underground utilities. And when you see a neighborhood like that has went through our planning department and see it developed, it looks good. But also there's a lot of houses that are approved in areas that it takes years to build. Look at Twin Eagles. Twin Eagles is being built for over 30 years. You take Foxland, like there's been in the making for 40 years. So it takes a while for these houses to come online.
Mr. Lee, what specifically do you think Gallatin should do to better manage the continued growth the city is experiencing?
Well, anytime the city is paying money for surveys, that's an expense to the city. Those surveys need to be taken seriously. What are they advising us to do? What kind of input would they, how would they recommend that we handle this growth? We need to be looking at the communities that we kind of sister to, that are like Gallatin or similar to Gallatin, and see how they've handled growth in the past. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. The wheel is already there. We just have to figure out which wheel fits our part best. One thing I will never do as a city councilman or city alderman, I will never accept a contribution for someone who's going to bring something before me that I'm going to have to vote on later. To me, your vote is already bought and paid for. It's like Trump was talking about the swamp. The swamp in Gallatin is big. It's not little. Our council, the people on our council recently accepted a donation from a developer in this county. They accepted it. And now someday they're going to have to go, when that developer, they've already created several big housing developments in Gallatin. Now when that developer comes before this city council and they want to build something, someone is going to either have to vote against their ethics, or they're going to have to stand and do something right and back off of it, because you cannot be the voice of all and be bought and paid for by special interest groups, whether it's a builder or whether it's anything else. And that's how I feel.
My rebuttal to that is I've never accepted money under the table to get a development through. I have accepted money from citizens. I have accepted money from citizens that was or are developers. And I've also turned down developments from people that has offered money to me before. As far as drain a swamp, I don't see a swamp in Gallatin. I don't see any councilman out there currently that would ever take a dime, a bribe, or anything unethical. Never seen that. That's not going to happen. As far as draining the swamp, we had 83% satisfied rate in Gallatin. The people were satisfied with what we're doing, and that was above a lot of the national average right there. We got a great report card. Most of the time, there's 300 or 400 people in these surveys. There was 500 people that was surveyed throughout the city, and they was surveyed on many items out there, and they was happy with what we're doing in Gallatin.
Speaking.
I agree with Mr. Fennell. There's a lot to be happy about in Gallatin. It's a great community. I chose here 30 years ago to bring my family to this community. My son was born in Sumner Regional. My dad was buried at the Sumner Memorial Gardens last year. This is my community, and I have an investment in this community, and I intend to protect that investment. And whether it's $100 gift that you don't have to itemize and put a name to, but it comes from Goodall Builders, all right? Yeah, you've accepted contributions from one of the people you're going to have to vote for later on in order, when they come to you wanting to build a development, you're going to have to vote yes or no on that. And I believe anytime I've ever given somebody a gift, a donation for something like that, you're going to expect something in return. And that's not, I'm just sorry to call it the swamp, but it is what it is.
You know, pointing out Goodall Builders, Bob Goodall has been a champion to the city of Gallatin and has donated lots of money to the city of Gallatin. And you know, that offends me right there. Bob and his family are great. They build a good house, a good product that citizens need in Gallatin, but trying to make claims that there's a swamp in Gallatin, I just don't see that.
They're not the only ones. They're not the only developers. They're not the only ones making contributions to the city council members that have been elected and are on that body right now. The $100 donations
Mr. Lee.
are not $100 donations are not itemized with names of where they came from.
We're going to move on to the next question, please.
The survey of residents also found that only 39% said that they were satisfied or very satisfied with overall traffic and congestion management by the city. Now, while the city did score very well, this was one of the items it did not score well in. If elected or re-elected, what would you do to help improve traffic flow throughout the city? Mr. Lee?
2 minutes.
Well, we did a lot of involvement with the state. My dad wanted to put a red light there, 109 South and Nichols Lane 25 years ago, and this past year was the first year that light was put in. Things move slow with the state. You've seen how many years it took them to do 109 South or 109 North, for that matter. But it's something that needs to be addressed, and a long term, you go and seek the advice of people that have done that before. And that's exactly what I would do. As alderman at large, you're one vote. There's several other on the aldermen that are going to be there to help guide those that have been there for a while, that have been through the ropes before. Anyway, we just need planned growth. The growth that we're having it is taking a toll on the infrastructure. Our police are running from one call to another without even a breath. You can go outside on your patio at night and just listen to the sirens over and over and over again. And not only the infrastructure to the police department, to our fire department, to the streets, it all has a toll and it all comes with a price.
Mr. Fennell?
I don't agree with that. Crime is down 17% in the city right now. We have 2.2 police officers per 1,000. We got 98 cops in the city of Gallatin. I think we're doing a great job right here. As far as TDOT goes, TDOT, we don't have any vote with TDOT. TDOT crawled in 109 right there, went into an interlocal agreement with the city of Lebanon. And what that is many load roads that come off of 109. So what we're trying to do is we load these properties from the back. So if you have a strip mall that comes in, if you have a grocery store, rather than have an entrance or an exit off of 109 corridor, we try to share entrances and exit, trying to keep a lot of the traffic off these corridors right there. I still stick with the money that the council voted on to calibrate our lighting system. That's been effective throughout other cities, and I think that we can get some help there. But with the COVID situation that come around, we had to kind of put that on the back burner, not because of money, it's just because of sicknesses and the research that goes in to what we're trying to do. There are some issues with traffic out there. You know, last year we paved 6.7 miles of pavement in Gallatin. This year we're slated to pave 7.7 miles of traffic in Gallatin. As far as the infrastructure being bad, that's wrong. Why did Facebook choose us? Why did they come here? We got good infrastructure. We own our utilities right here. That's one of the reasons. Our utilities are running at 50%. We're in great shape in Gallatin. You know, if we have a hole in our pavement, we're going to try to fix it, or we're going to put it on a list to repave it. I mean, that's what Gallatin is. That's what we're about. But we're not in bad shape in Gallatin. We're in great shape. Look at the factories that's come here. Look at the tech companies that come here. Look at Facebook. Look at Archer. Look at Axis right there. Look at DNS. Who would have thought 10 or 12 years ago that we'd have had this tech companies come out here to help our citizens and bring up the level of pay for everybody?
In 2019, Gallatin spent $2.1 million to preserve land in the city by purchasing 3 properties totaling nearly 70 acres. The question, as the amount of undeveloped property continues to disappear across the city, do you feel that Gallatin should be more? Do you feel Gallatin should do more to preserve open space? And would you support additional taxpayer-funded land purchases like the one that occurred last year? Mr. Fennell, I'll ask you to go
What did you
first.
say about reduce the taxpayers? What now?
Would you support additional taxpayer-funded land purchases like the ones that happened last year?
You know, it's very possible. As you see, Hendersonville got all gobbled up because of the growth they had over the years. Then they really struggled with the property down at the four-way stop in Indian Lake. And then they had a hard time raising the money trying to keep green space. A lot of these developers are out there saying that if you try to keep your density into the city, you save your green space. For instance, if you had 100 houses or 100 townhouses, people in the townhouses are actually going to be living closer together. But if you take 100 houses and blast them throughout the county, you're going to lose a lot of your green space. I think it's vital that we save a lot of our green space. That's part of our heritage, our charm, our appeal. You know, the square on Gallatin. There's a lot of Gallatin. I'm proud of what we bought. We haven't decided exactly yet what we want to do with what we bought. But when we find a plan out, I'm sure we'll talk about it and try to figure out what the best solution is. But you know what? If we didn't want that land or couldn't find a usage for it, we could certainly sell it. But I think it was very smart. I've been a business owner for 35 years. I try to move forward. If you're not moving forward, you're dying. If the city's not growing, you're dying. You know, and I remember the days. I've been here this long. I remember the days when there was 11,000 people in Gallatin. I remember the tobacco barns being in the middle of Gallatin. I remember the Tasty Freeze, the Gondola House. I remember when people didn't have much business. But you know what? They're happy and they've got it now. And it's only getting better. Our properties are raising. Sure, they're worth more. I mean, that ought to be something right there to be proud about. And being diverse. I mean, throughout, if you look, we got stuff for this retired people. We've got stuff for first-time buyers, younger people. We've got retirement homes out there. We got estate homes. We're kind of diversifying Gallatin. People are moving here to Gallatin not because we're a bad place. We're a popular place. We're a great place to be here in Gallatin, and I'm proud to be part of it.
Mr. Lee?
I agree with what he said. It is a great place. Gallatin has been a great place. Didn't happen in the last 4 years. I mean, it's been on the back of many people that have served this community for many, many years. The forefathers of this city they well thought out what would happen someday. And I'm proud to be part of that. We have a countywide school resource officer program that I started 20 years ago that is second to none in this county. It didn't start started with 5 officers. And the vision I had back then with Merle Hyde is that we would have an officer in every school building eventually. And it's happened. We have some of the safest schools anywhere in this country. We haven't had a Columbine. We have not had anything close to it because someone had some vision. And that vision has come true, regardless who took it all the way to where it's at now. It doesn't matter because we got to that vision that we think. We had the largest, most comprehensive DARE program in this state when I was a police officer and I was the DARE officer. Second to none. Joanne Graves and Dr. Malone, they're the ones that recommended me to be the DARE officer. And we did wonders. And we had great success with that program. We graduated thousands of kids from that program most of them have gone on to be great and wonderful things. And they were able to say no to drugs and alcohol and no to violence. And they were able to make good, sound decisions and become good, productive citizens of this city, this state, and this country. That's what I want to see to continue to happen in Gallatin. We can work. We don't have to have these incidences like we see across the country with Black Lives Matter and these other groups. We don't have riots in our streets. We can work together with people that are having issues with our police department, and we can come up with viable answers together. Thank you.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
Mr. Lee, my wife accuses me of talking loud sometimes. It's not that I'm mad or anything. If I come off, I'll apologize to you. I'm not mad at you or anything, but my wife says, hush up, you talk too loud sometimes. It's just my nature, okay?
I will second that. I don't believe you're loud. I am loud myself. I teach school at the prison in Hartsville, and in order to get anything out, I have to scream and holler.
Yeah,
So
we're both passionate, so.
Sure. So next question. Earlier this year, the city of Gallatin approved what has been described as a status quo pandemic budget for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. Total $38.4 million, represented a 1.6% reduction in overall spending when compared to the previous year. It left the city's $7.2 million rainy day fund untouched and did not include a tax increase. In light of the recent economic uncertainty surrounding the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, what would your priorities be when it comes to approving the city's annual budget? And do you think anything about it should be changed? Or would you like to see anything about the city's budget changed, especially going into the next year where the pandemic will likely still be affecting the economy? Mr. Lee, we will ask you to go first.
Well, hopefully the mayor and those
Turn your microphone, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Well, hopefully the mayor and the aldermen that are on the council right now, they've experienced what it is to do the budget for the city, and if we have that much of a rainy day program, they've done a good job, and I would commend that. I just commend that. If our city is that well on budget, then some people have been doing some good things, and I will never say otherwise.
Mr. Fennell.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. I appreciate that, but I can't even take all the credit. We've got a wonderful mayor out there that handles our budget, and every year we go over that with her, what we can, or really we do, and she hits it out of the park every time that she does our budget. That's why we're in such good shape, not only because of her, but even mayors in front of her, even the council in front of her. I mean, they've kind of paved the way for us. And, sometimes I hear out in the public, hey, we need to turn around and change things. We need to this, we need to do that. Well, the Bulls didn't change their team when they was winning the national championship. And the way we're doing, I just don't feel it's time for a change. I think we're doing good. I think we're doing great. The COVID thing right there, we can adjust our budget. There's things that we can do and things that we don't have to do. We're just kind of pulling the reins back a little bit to see where this is going to go. One thing I want to say is our employees handled everything perfectly in the city. We did not shut down our any department in the city. A lot of people don't realize, but we had buses donated to us that stayed out at the pumping station, and they quarantined themselves and lived in those buses so they could make sure the citizens had fresh water. Look at our officers out there, our firemen, all of our building staff, our planning staff, our codes, street department, gas, water, everything. They all showed up. They worked. We worked through this. You cannot beat them. And you know, it was said May the 5th by Mr. Jouvence that he wanted to turn around and take the employees' benefits away from them. How could you do that after they just been kicked in the mouth? I mean, I've been a business owner for 35 years. My main goal is taking care of my employees, keep them happy. I know how to take care of employees. I've been down this path for a lot of years. And that's the backbone and the heart of Gallatin is our employees. And what a great job they have done.
As we continue on, the people who are watching and viewing on Facebook right now, we have if there's somebody that has a question, would you bring us a question and just hand it to us so that we make sure that we interact with the people who are viewing today? Because we know that the most important things to our candidates are the citizens of Gallatin.
Going back to the results of the citizen survey that was conducted earlier this year, overall resident satisfaction with the quality of fire service was at 92% and police services was at 85%. Both of those were well above the national and regional averages. Police and fire protection also ranked at the top of the list for services residents said that are most important for the city to provide. If elected or re-elected, how would you help make sure those departments continue to have what they need as the city continues to grow? And how would you balance that with the support for the city's other departments and their needs as well? We'll start with you, Mr. Fennell.
Well, for 4 years, I was a law enforcement chairman for the Sumner County Sheriff's Department as an elected official, and also as a county commissioner. I was chairman of the law enforcement committee. So I back the police department. I feel that I know some things about the police department. I've been through the Citizens Academy, probably not what Mr. Lee has been through, but there's a lot that we can do out there. I've been advocating for a training facility for the police department for almost 4 years. We do have a piece of ground out there, and right now our police department is having to go to other cities, even smaller cities than we got, to get their guys their 40 hours a year in that is mandatory, whether that's on the pistol range or learning off their duty belt and training. Also, the land that we got out there, we're going to also put a training facility for our fire department. Now, we try to balance that out. You know, we just built a new fire station that we're proud of over there on Nichols Lane. So right now, I'm feeling that we need to do something for the police department. But also, there's a lot of things we want to do out there. And being in business like myself, sometimes you got to crawl before you can walk. Yes, we have a lot of money in our reserve. We keep it there because what that does, it helps our bond rate. We got one of the best bond rates out there in the country. Interest rates are low right now, so we're willing to go out there and borrow some money to do some things that we want to do in Gallatin. And all the council, we all agree to that. We're just going to find out what we want to do and what we want to do with the money. It's money that we can do for the parks. It's money we can do for the police department, the fire department, and citizens of Gallatin. We might put in a skate park in here, trying to do something for the revenue of the city of Gallatin.
Mr. Lee.
With that kind of approval rating, you know, that's great. We have a good police department. We have a good fire department. But I do know some of those kids I was talking to you about that went into the law enforcement and the fire department profession started out in Gallatin. But unfortunately, they left us for Metro and some other surrounding counties that pay more and have better benefits. And we can always do better when it comes to that. And I want to keep the brightest and the best in our law enforcement and our fire department. As far as the resources and the things they need, you have a chief of police and you have a fire chief. They're paid very well. They should know what they need. And when it comes time to voice those needs, they can come to a city councilman like myself, and I will be there for them. And I'll fight tooth and nail to get them whatever resource they need, training, materials, whatever it is. And these guys put their life on the line every single day, and people may laugh that off or whatever, but you don't ever know what you're going to walk into. And there was situations that I walked into as a police officer where, just walk out of your patrol car answering a regular routine call at a place you've been 1,000 times, and all of a sudden somebody runs out of the house with a shotgun, and you got to make a split second decision on what you're going to do. That day, fortunately, I had one of the best police partners I ever had in my life. Because if he hadn't have done what he done, I would probably be dead today. But that's what teamwork is all about. That's that tight, back the blue. What I'm talking about was when it comes down to a life and death situation, those guys have to make those split-second decisions, and sometimes they don't make the right one. Sometimes they're wrong.
Mr. Fennell has a rebuttal. 30 seconds, please.
Trying to remember that rebuttal. I know what I was going to say. I love the fire department. I love the police department, but we have so many other entities in Gallatin. They all need things. We got our IT department. We got our codes department. We've got our EDA. We've got our planning department. We've got a lot of stuff out there, roads, everything. So, you have to take all this consideration and see what the people really need. There's the people that want a lot, but we got to decipher between the wants and the needs out there. And it's hard to do, guys.
Last month, Mayor Paige Brown, proposed a $15 million bond issue that would include funding for, among other things, $7.4 million for road and sidewalk projects, $3.6 million for parks, $1.5 million for a parking garage downtown, among other projects. Are there any specific capital projects that you would support and like to see completed in the city if you were elected or re-elected? We'll start with Mr. Lee.
Okay. Growing too fast. Sometimes in the past, housing developments have been approved that could have used a little bit more planning. And my mother happens to live in one of those subdivisions, Eagle Creek subdivision. Randy and Ron Jones built some of the finest homes in this, anywhere, I guess. But they brought Eagle Creek subdivision to us 25 years ago, built there along the Long Hollow Golf Course. But there were some drainage issues that still plague that subdivision today. And my mother, actually, her backyard is a swamp. It's mosquito infested. This ditch never goes dry. But it's an issue with that growing too fast thing. And the city taking on accepting these subdivisions in and never, that problem should have been addressed with the builder. But the city took that on and it's never been fixed. The Lance with what department is that? Engineering department. He come out. He's fantastic. I couldn't ask for a finer employee. He come out and looked at it and he said, "We've been trying to fix this for years." And I felt relieved when he was there and looking at. We do have, like Shawn said, we do have some of the best employees willing to do their job for the price they've been hired on to. And I will never short any of our employees. I just have a closeness to our fire and our police that it's just part of me and it's in my blood. And that's probably why I single them out most often. Thank you.
Mr. Fennell.
Rebuttal first.
We'll let you answer, and then if you want to include that.
You know, one of my main things is Nat Caldwell Park, and I know that is one of our mayor's projects also. And there's many projects I have, but I want to explain this. Back in the day when I was a kid, my father took me to the entrance of Gallatin right there on the left at Nat Caldwell Park, and they had a big old ski jump right there, and they had competitions. I remember that being clean, no driftwood. I remember people sitting on the side of Gallatin Road in bleachers there, and I have some pictures on my phone that people have sent me of what that park used to look like. Now it's grown up. There's soot or sediment that's filled up into the cove. I ride my jet ski over some, and I'll look at it, look at the pictures, and wish what we could do right there. And that is something right there that we're trying to move forward on that I would look and like to see in the future. Then that is only one of the projects that I'd like to see done in the Gallatin, Tennessee area. That is our threshold. That's the gateway to Gallatin. I feel that our lake is there. That's a very big asset for us. And I feel that also that lake has been under advertised. You know, so that's something that I'd like to see done. Can I have a rebuttal now on what he said? The only thing I'd like to add is now when a developer comes in, he's got to pay for land disturbance fees. And also he pays for our new stormwater runoff. That's very expensive stuff. And that has been mandated by the state of Tennessee and the federal government. So we've got that in place. We know that some of these buildings coming here, heck, our fire department was built, and we're flooding some houses because of our new fire department. So the council got together, we agreed to go after it legally and to see what we can do to solve these problems. I know we got problems. We're about to turn around and build this dam, or TVA is, across Triple Creek Park. And what it's going to do is going to retain the water into that area right there, and it's going to release it slowly so our downtown Gallatin don't flood. And that's the Corps of Engineers doing that. Some of this stuff takes a while to get done, but you know, we're moving in the right direction.
All right, did you also have a rebuttal to what Mr. Lee said for 30 seconds?
I think, was there anything else you wanted to add, Mr. Lee, or are you?
Not that.
To that subject?
No. But Shawn had 30, he had a rebuttal that he wanted to respond to what Mr. Lee had said first.
Confusing.
I know, I didn't want you to lose your time.
Was
Where
there
are we
anything
at
else you
on
wanted to add, Mr. Fennell, or?
You know, this is one thing I'd say, and I know it's not my closing remark, but I feel comfortable with Mr. Lee up here. This is a great debate, and we're just trying to solve things in the city. Us, the city council right there, we all like each other. We might argue with each other now and then and stuff, but you know what? We still go eat together. And I love that. One other thing I'd like to say, Mr. Lee, I live in a neighborhood where there's a lot of builders. My daughter's neighbor is Bob Goodall, and Bob Goodall's son lives in there. There's a lot of builders that live in my neighborhood that might have gave me $100 here or there or whatever. I do not feel inclined to have to vote or cast a vote for somebody that's put money in one of my donation buckets at all. That's the only problem that I have is that, you know.
We have a question from Facebook from Patrick Flowers. And the question is,
From who?
Patrick Flowers, our timekeeper, who is in the room with us. And his question is, how can you balance growth and preserve history? And that's a big question for every city council that I have been around and questioning about. Balance growth, preserve history.
Mr. Lee, we'll start with you.
Well, you know, this is an area where I'm not going to condemn anyone, because I believe that we have protected our history in Gallatin. We even with the development of the last plantation, a lot of that history was preserved when it was built. We have a historic district downtown Gallatin. A lot of those old homes have been protected. And what can we do more? Anything we can to protect our history. History is one. If we lose our history, we're going to lose in everything. And do you have anything, Shawn?
Mr. Fennell.
Yeah, our downtown square right there. One thing, I'm a member of the JPA committee, which is Judicial Planners Association, and I've been on that for almost 4 years, and that is our courthouse. And we traveled around, looked at other courthouses in other counties, and trying to preserve our square, trying to blend with our square. So I've been proud to serve on that committee right there. Another thing too is preserving our history. All of our buildings in the downtown area have to be sprinkled. You know, we don't want to lose that heritage right there, that history right there. So that's one step that we have taken to try to preserve that area. Our history is strong in Gallatin. And I think that's part of our grace, our grit. You know, one thing, even change the subject a little bit. One thing I was proud to see is when the tornadoes come through, and I'm sure we've seen them. I remember one come through at night. I remember one come through in the day. The one that come through the day that really hurt a lot of people, cost lives, tore it all up. What I remember about that day is as soon as they passed, I've never seen the like of people coming together, getting out there, working together, helping each other, not asking for anything at all. Houses, personal belongings everywhere. People in Gallatin showed what we're about. And that's one reason I'm proud to live here.
In 2017, Gallatin began to shift its economic recruitment efforts to begin pursuing technology companies and corporate offices instead of industrial prospects in need of hundreds of workers due to the city's low unemployment rate. That led to Facebook announcing in August that it will build an $800 million state-of-the-art data center on more than 800 acres off Hartsville Pike. The announcement came 3 months after city leaders approved an incentive package worth an estimated $19.5 million in tax breaks for the project over 20 years. While an economic impact analysis study benefited that project, while an economic impact analysis study estimated that the project would result in a local tax benefit of $62.7 million for the city, do you feel the project will be a positive development for the city, and do you support the city's focus on shifting to pursue technology companies versus big manufacturers? We'll start with Mr. Fennell.
Absolutely. I mean, there again, I said that Facebook chose us for a reason. They looked around, and Paige has got an exit interview from one of the site planners and one of the people that go out in the area and try to hunt for these places. I wish everybody could read that. Maybe one day she'll share that of why Facebook chose our area. I mean, gosh, this is a tech company. This is going to, not only is Facebook coming here, but you're going to have other companies that are going to follow Facebook here in support of Facebook. I mean, that's a win-win situation, is having a company like that that's got anywhere to go in the United States. And Lord of mercy, they choose Gallatin. I would have never thought that. Do I think it's going to help? Absolutely. It's going to bring in jobs. It might even offer a place for my grandkids one day to work where I don't have to travel across the country to visit my grandkids. I want those kids to have an opportunity to live here, build a house here, and have a job that pays well enough. That is one of my goals here in the city, is bring job levels up, pay more money, get good paying jobs here where people can live the way that they want to live and be comfortably and be prosperous in the city of Gallatin. I think that is a big duty and something that the council really needs to look at. And I think it's something that we take too hard.
Mr. Lee?
We're fortunate enough that we live in a country for the last 4 years where we have had positive economic growth, had a positive economy. But there will be a day when the economy is not as healthy as it is today. And whether we come through that or not is going to be based on our diversity. Have we put all of our eggs into one basket, or have we been diverse and brought in different types of business to where we can withstand whatever may or may not come? And that's how I feel about that. We need, Nashville is diversified. Middle Tennessee is diversified. We have a strong, healthy economy, whether we're in Gallatin or whether you're in Murfreesboro or whether you're in Crossville or Clarksville. But anyway, the diversity of our community is needed, and it will weather the storm.
We have a question from online. Natalie Tieford says, ask, how do you feel about your opponent, Pascal Jouvence, not joining the forum?
Who's that question to?
That is to both of you, each of you. How does it impact you, and what do you think Natalie Tiefert online wants
I
to
would
know?
like to go first.
Just, we're alternating back and forth. I'll let Mr. Lee go first since he was next on the list.
Okay.
Well, originally it was me that wasn't gonna get to come because of a family vacation that we had planned. But I was fortunate enough, my son was able to work with me and we've like rescheduled and we've made, we made the necessary changes for me to be here tonight. And what, the primary reason I'm running tonight is it's not about me running against Mr. Fennell or Mr. Pascal or what. It's not about that. It's about giving the people of Gallatin a choice. And unfortunately, in two of our races, they're unopposed, and the citizens are not going to get a choice. They've got what they've got. In this one, they're going to have a choice, and they're going to have the opportunity to, hopefully, they'll study the issues and they'll study what me and Shawn have said tonight, but hopefully they'll make the right choice. Okay? But if they don't make the right choice, they can spend the next 4 years trying to make their choice right. I'm sorry that Pascal cannot be here tonight with us. I'm sorry the reasons he gave. For the things I've read that he brings up in his statement for running and some of the questions he's been asked, he seems to be a very nice and intelligent man, and I'm not sure of exactly his politics, and it's like tonight I met Shawn and his wife. I think I've met him before in the past somewhere, but I met his wife tonight. They're very nice people, very kind. He has a very successful business here in Gallatin, and I've heard a lot of nice things about that business.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
And nothing personal with me running. It's nothing to. I'm not running against Shawn. I'm running for the office because I want the opportunity to serve. And one thing I do know is the greatest servant of all was our Lord and our Savior Jesus Christ. And I'll never ever be able to live up to that standard. But I do want to be a servant, and I know that's what the people of Gallatin need. And they need the taxpayers, just the common everyday folks on the street. They're the ones that need our support the most.
Mr. Fennell?
I think there's a place for Mr. Lee to land. I just don't want to be in my seat. As far as Mr. Pascal goes, I guess like Vice President Pence said, I mean, he's entitled to his own opinions, but he is not entitled to his facts. That's all I'll say about that.
You know, and I do want to apologize. I said Pascal Jouvence wrong because I'm from Louisiana. We say Jouvence where I'm from. So I apologize, Pascal.
We have another question from Facebook that has been handed to us. This is from Daniel Kilbasa. Apologies if I did not pronounce that correctly. Are either of you in favor, or do you oppose raising property taxes or sales taxes to support future growth in Gallatin? Again, the question is, are the candidates in favor, or do they oppose raising property or sales taxes to support future growth in Gallatin? We'll start with you, Mr. Fennell.
You know, Councilman Overton told me today that in 14 years, Gallatin has not raised its taxes. If anything, recently we lowered some taxes. When I served on the county commission in 2006, 2010, that was a rough part of time. But you know, I fought to stay away from not raising taxes, and we didn't during 2006, 2010. I felt that we had enough money. We had a way to manipulate our money that we did not have to raise taxes. I think we're sitting on a great rainy day fund in Gallatin. We've got reserves in Gallatin. I don't see any reason to raise taxes. I mean, with the building that's going on and the money that we're getting, one thing I want to say, construction pays for construction. Construction pays for construction. So the money that we're getting off these building permits and stuff, it goes right into the general fund. You know, there's a lot of other monies that come into the fund. As far as electrical, in lieu of taxes, they give us $1 million a year. As far as, utilities, they give us $1 million in lieu of taxes a year. I think we're in good shape. I don't think that I wouldn't vote for a tax increase, certainly now. And I couldn't say I never would, but I don't think I would ever want to with the financial shape that our past, council and mayor and our current council and mayor that we got. I don't think there's any reason to do that. And I wouldn't want to scare the citizens into thinking that.
Mr. Lee?
Well, Mr. Overton said, what now? How many years?
14 is what.
14 years. It's about right. It's about time for one. As alderman, the next 4 years, I promise you, if we have that kind of a rainy day fund, I'm not going to vote for a tax increase. I wouldn't vote for it if we are rock bottom, if we've not exhausted every other means necessary to raise the funds that we need, whether it's today, 4 years from now, or 8 years from now. These people that are bringing and impacting our city, we need to make sure that we are tapping into every possible revenue source that we possibly can without it affecting the average homeowner. Mr. Fennell, you can maybe answer this for me. It's a question I have. But as far as impact fees, is there anything like that in the city of Gallatin right now?
No, it's against the law, state law, for us to collect or receive impact fees. The county is the only ones that do that. And I think the impact fees that they collect, they put it in lieu of the schools.
Okay. Because I remember 20 years ago, on the county, we were voting whether we'd vote for county impact fee taxes or not.
You know, when I was there, we had impact fees. It was like $750 per house is what they was back then. But, you know, now the monies that we raise our permit fees to, that is money that goes into our general fund. Years ago, we didn't hardly have any permittable fees in Gallatin because we're just trying to allure people here, bring business here. But now that we start getting this business coming into town and we're receiving housing, then that's, you know, we started raising our fees up, and it's quite a lot of money that we receive that goes a long way with our budget in Gallatin.
Our next question from Facebook comes from Paul Vaughn, and this question will go to you, Mr. Lee, first. What is your opinion on the large downtown construction projects like the new courthouse and parking garage? Just what are your thoughts about those projects?
Well, as far as the new courthouse and a parking garage, you definitely need the parking. The parking hasn't been good ever since I moved to Gallatin. Businesses have struggled to exist on that square up there because of the lack of parking. And then if we're going to build a new courthouse up there, then most definitely we need additional parking. A question I might have, of course, I've not been involved in that project. Is it necessary that the courthouse be built on the square? I mean, there's lots of land all over Gallatin. Was that necessary to build a courthouse on the existing square that we have? The building that's there, the old courthouse, it's not big enough to do that we needed to do. Why does that have to be built on the square?
Mr. Fennell?
Really, it don't have to be, but if you guys remember, there were so many signs in all the business windows, save the courthouse, save the courthouse. Everybody wanted a courthouse downtown. I think it adds to the charm of the square, especially the way that they're gonna build it down there. As far as the parking garage goes, we needed a parking garage in Gallatin, no matter whether or not we was going to build a courthouse. The great thing about this is we're partnering up with the county and building the parking garage together. So that's going to save the taxpayers millions of dollars. And that's a great thing. Even the location that we're putting the parking garage out, it's going to benefit the downtown area. When I went to Murfreesboro and viewed their new courthouse right there, that square boomed. And that's something that I see in the future. That's fixing to happen. Sure, we're going to have growing pains, but you know what? We're trying to make it where all the lay down lots are back behind the square. Our service road is back behind where the courthouse is being built. So that will try to take and alleviate a lot of pressure, construction pressure out of the downtown area. One of the first things we're going to do is start on that parking garage and get it built first so that we don't displace workers or employees on the square. But yes, we're going to have some construction problems, but I'm going to tell you what, I wished I owned some of that property on the square because I can tell you and I see what's fixing to happen. We're going to have more restaurants. We're going to have more music venues, more walkable. Wow, what a square we're going to have.
We are 10 minutes away from closing remarks. So we would like for you now to go back to 60-second responses each, and we'll keep a rebuttal for the closing remarks. All right?
Next year, Gallatin's long overdue all-inclusive Miracle Park for individuals with special needs is expected to open at Triple Creek Park. Are there any park projects or amenities you would like to see happen in Gallatin? And if so, what are they? And we will go with Mr. Fennell first.
You know, David Brown and a lot of people have done such a wonderful job with the Miracle Park, and that is to benefit the handicapped children. And if you haven't seen that, you need to go look at that. And we've had a lot of donations from a lot of people, some big donations from construction companies and builders and you know, people like that. That is just such a great thing for us to have in that area. Now, what was part of that other question?
Just, are there any park projects or amenities that you would like to see happen?
Well, another thing I'd like to see is around a Big Station Camp Creek area, we've owned a piece of land right there. And Councilman Hayes for a while has been wanting to do something in that area. And him and I both live in that area, but there's really nothing in that area from the city or for the city, for the citizens. So that's one area we're weighing in right there. And I know Councilman Alexander wants to do something over in his community. And God knows I'd like to do everything. I wish I could have won the lottery $1 billion and give Gallatin everything that we deserve and need.
Mr. Lee, any park projects you'd like to see?
David Brown, he's always been amazing to me. He has done a good job ever since I can remember. He's been there for a while. He's done a fantastic job. Our city is blessed with these parks. The more we can add, the merrier. Mr. Alexander lives in an area that needs as much positive alternative activities as those kids can get. They need as much of our investment as we can possibly give them. Those are the kids that need positive mentors when they have none. And I invested a great deal of my time with that community. I have friends and people that I love and care about. Mr. Alexander, he served on the county commission with my dad, and he even married my dad and his new wife. But he's a good man, and I appreciate all that he's done for the Gallatin's North Side. And like Shawn said, you know, there's needs for everything. And I one day would like to eventually see, you know, if I had my way about it, at the end of Lot 4 Road, we may build water slides and all kinds of fun stuff for the kids, you know.
Well, that kind of moves on to our question that combines 3 questions from Facebook from Bonnie Cummins, from Shauna Vaughn, Ben Schoten, and Kelly Tuttle. What would you focus on to improve Gallatin? Where would you see Gallatin in 20 years? And how would you entice our children and grandchildren to stay here? That kind of is one question. Focus and in keeping our kids here. And you started to answer that, Shawn, a little earlier. You kind of alluded to that. So why don't we start with you? 60 seconds.
Me?
Yeah.
Diversity in housing right there. You know, some kids might start out in a townhouse. They might want to start out in an apartment. They might want to start out in a starter home at a certain level of money. having an opportunity here for them to have a job, a tech job, any kind of job to keep them here. Lord knows I want to keep my grandkids here. My children, my kids are here. They work here in the city of Gallatin. Having opportunity and possibilities out there are, to me, endless. We just got to develop Gallatin in a really good way. I'm anxious to see what GNRC comes out and kind of give us a blueprint and a guide to go by of what all the citizens want and how we should plan our future and plan Gallatin.
Mr. Lee?
Yeah, I recently was speaking with one of my coworkers, and him and his wife moved here from Arkansas, and they live in an apartment complex back off of Kennesaw Farms. And they were telling me they have a son and a son and a daughter, and they have a 3-bedroom apartment, and their rent is $1,500 a month. It's going up to $1,800 a month. And one of the biggest issues I think right now in the Gallatin is we have a shortage of affordable housing. There's nothing affordable in Gallatin. There's not a house listed for below $200,000. These apartment complexes that have come up that are income based, they're not benefiting our community in any way. To me, they're a burden. We bring these people in. Every apartment complex you see is a need for another school. And whether it's a county tax or whether it's a city tax, it's still a burden on the taxpayer.
We, one last question tonight before we go into our closing statements. This is again a question from Facebook. It's from Everett, who says that he sees a lot of references about the quote, good old boy network. How does that make you feel? And he says that he thinks personally it puts down our city. We'll start with Mr. Lee first.
That's an expression that's been used for decades. The good old boy politics. In cases, it's been the truth, though. Get a network of certain individuals working for a certain cause, and they vote the same way. They have no independence in their thought or their ideas, and this is the way Grandpappy laid the cornerstone. This is the way it's been, and this is the way it's always going to be. And you're an outsider. You wasn't born here. You're not welcome here. We just want you and your taxes, and just do what we tell you, and you'll be fine. That's what my dad, when he ran for city council, he was at an event where several people from the community were invited, and one of the people that were there told him, said, "You'll be fine as long as you do what we tell you to do," and they meant it. Anyway, thank you,
Mr. Fennell.
I mean, look around Gallatin, look at what we got. I mean, we're really in good shape in Gallatin. You know, our school systems, this is the county. Our school system has upped the bar. When I was on the county commission right there, the budget in the school system was $184 million. Now it's a lot more money. Our education has grown. We really are known for good educational facilities, schools. Well, what happens is all these people from California or Boston or New York or whatever, they don't like their government. They don't like where they live. So guess what? They look around. They like the government. They like what's happening in Tennessee. They come here. They move here. Then they start looking around and they see Gallatin, the nicest city in America. So they start looking at what we do, what we're about, what we've got going on. And because of the school system is so good now, look, we have to accommodate the people that come in here. You know, we can't close the door. There's people, I heard people today at early voting that, hey, I moved here, but I don't like all this building. I don't like this. I don't like that. I mean, really? I mean, you can't, who's the last one in and who shuts the door?
That concludes our questions for the
Well,
evening.
amen to what he said, because a lot of what he said is right. Welcome to Gallatin, but please leave your politics back where you came from.
I don't believe in a good old boy statement at all.
Well, I have another, something else I'd like to address.
We're up on a tight deadline. It's almost 8 o'clock. So that's going to conclude our questions for the evening. But before we go, we would like to give each of you 2 minutes for closing statements. Mr. Fennell will let you go first.
But we want to wrap within that a question from Kyle Townsend in our final question. Wrap into your closing statement what Gallatin means to you and what you love about Gallatin in your closing statements.
Mr. Fennell.
Kyle Townsend actually works at my business. I love Gallatin. I love what it stands for. I love the charm. I love the grit. I love the grace. I love the people, how we all help each other. This has been a great debate tonight. We do have different opinions. Mr. Lee, you're a good person right there. And I've enjoyed it. What else was that?
What do you love about Gallatin?
Oh, I love going to the ball games, taking my kids there. I love taking them to Sonic to eat after the ball games. I love the lake, going out on the lake, skiing, which I can do little of anymore. Jet skiing. I love taking my grandkids fishing. I love going up on the square, walking around. I like our Square Fest up there when we have it, our third Thursday, of the month. But you know what? COVID has really put a damper on everything that we do in Gallatin right now. So I only hope we can find a cure and get on with our life and start doing the things we want to do and like to do in Gallatin.
All right, Mr. Lee, a closing statement with what do you like about Gallatin?
Well, there's not much about Gallatin I don't like. I like the diversity of our community. I like its citizens. I like the fact that we are a bunch of good old country folks. And,
Boys, I'm glad you said that.
good old country folks that love and care about each other. And then when everything's said and done, whether we agree or not, that we can shake each other's hands and we can go have something to eat. But we need to take the things tonight serious, some of the things that have been asked and said. I want the very best for our community, for our young people. And that's what's been important. And of course, taking care of our senior citizens, the ones that, built this country and made it the great country it is today. Those senior citizens, guys and ladies that fought World War II and everything else that's happened in this country. And especially those that are now leading the way. I believe in the Constitution of the United States more than anything in the world. I believe it's the second most important document that was ever written by the hands of man, second only to the Holy Bible. But I believe that document was divinely inspired, just like the Holy Bible. It is up to us and our generation, whether it's on a local, state, or federal level, to protect and defend that Constitution. I did it as a police officer. I took that oath, and I took it when I enlisted in the United States Navy, that I would protect that document against all enemies, foreign and domestic. When we talk about the war on drugs, that is a domestic enemy. And we have to do everything we have to do in our community to fight that. Thank you.
Thank you so much to both of you, to Robert Lee and to Shawn Fennell. We thank you, Josh. Those were wonderful questions, and thank you for the good work that you do for the Gallatin News. You guys who are watching on Facebook, thank you for being part of the process, and thank you for listening tonight, for sharing. We do hope that you will get your teenagers to watch this, because this is something that affects them. Civics are not taught quite like they used to be, and so this is part of the process. We encourage you to be part of it. Thank you to the Chamber for making this available on the website. Thank you to Lynda Love and Eileen George for your contributions tonight. Thank you for all the wonderful people in Gallatin who tuned in and who will go and vote in the early voting at Freedom Church or the polls on November 3rd. And thank you for being subscribers to the Gallatin News. Make sure that you go to our Facebook page and click like there and subscribe there. Follow us, because that's where the news in your hometown will always be. I'm Devin O'Day. Thank you all for listening and being part of this. God bless Gallatin.
Amen.